G'day, I'm Mike Hayes and welcome to Jazz Guitar Chord-melody Part 45. In today's video, we're going to look at some creative ways of combining triads with a melodic line. And I do think you'll find some ideas here that you can use when you're developing your own chord-melody style on guitar. Later on in the video, we're going to look at some cool ways of playing triads over a 12-bar blues. But before we get started, I'd just like to remind you to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the good stuff. All right, let's get started and see what we've got in store for you today. We're going to start today's session by playing an E Phrygian mode on the first string. And what that simply means is we're going to play from E to E without any sharps or flats. For those people that are familiar with modes, the Phrygian mode is the third mode of the major scale. And since we're starting on the note E, the parent scale, or what we call the Ionian mode, would be the C major scale. Here we go. The next step is that we're going to convert this E Phrygian mode to an E Aeolian mode. And the way we're going to do that is simply by adding an F sharp. The Aeolian mode is the 6th degree of a major scale. So we're going to change the key signature to 1 sharp, because now we're in the key of G, and we're starting on the 6th note in the key of G. That's the note E. Let's try that. Remember, it's the same notes that we just played, only we have an F sharp instead of an F natural. The next thing is that we're going to play this E Aeolian mode in a particular rhythm. And this is going to be very important because it's the way we're going to introduce the concept of playing triads and then some melodic lines. Now 12/8 may be new to you and it might sound tricky, but basically it's 4/4 time with a triplet feel. So let's have a listen to 12/8, have a listen to the clicks, tap your foot on each click, and I'm simply playing a series of E notes over the top of the click track. The picking pattern that I'm using is down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. Let's have a listen. Now that we have our 12/8 rhythm, we're going to create an ascending melodic line. We're going to be playing in the key of G, and I'll call out the notes. The first set of 3 will be E, F sharp, G. Then the next 3 notes will begin on F sharp, G, A. The next set of notes will be G, A, B. Our next group of 3 will be A, B, C. Continuing to the next bar, and the notes will be B, C, D, followed by C, D, E, then D, E, F sharp, and finishing on G. If you study this melodic line closely, you'll notice the way we've been able to achieve this climbing effect is that each successive set of 3 notes begins on the second note of the previous set of 3. So the first set was E, F sharp, G. The second note in that series was F sharp, and so now it becomes the first note in the next set of 3. We've also extended the range of our E Aeolian mode up a little bit higher to include the note F sharp and G. When you're ready, try that along with me. Next, you'll see on the screen a series of triads, and these triads are all drawn from the key of G major. Let's play through them first, and then we'll combine these triads with the melodic line that we just practiced. And now we'll combine the triads with the melodic line. If you have a close look at the exercise, you'll notice that we've used a triad from the key of G major that relates to the first note in each triplet. In other words, under the E note we've used E minor, under the F sharp note we've used F sharp diminished. I'm going to play this exercise at 3 different tempos. The first one will be at metronome 40. Let's try that. How did you go? Actually, it's a pretty tricky exercise because we want to sustain the chord for full value while moving on to the other notes in the melodic line. If we jump off the chord too quickly, our playing will sound choppy and disconnected. Here's the same exercise at metronome 50. And again, the same exercise, this time at metronome 60. Okay, that should get you started in that way of thinking, where we're playing in a linear fashion and placing chords under selected melody notes. We'll develop this idea a great deal in future lessons. But now I want to touch on another concept, where we're playing chord inversions in a lateral fashion. In our previous video, we presented the idea of playing first inversion triads over the entire fingerboard. Today I'd like to show you one of the ways that we can play chord inversions across the fingerboard. And we'll have a look at how to play all the inversions of the 4 essential chord types that we need to know. And that's the major chord, the minor chord, the diminished, and the augmented. You'll notice that all the notes in the chord diagrams are colour-coded, and it's of particular interest to us to see how the notes move across the fingerboard when the chord is inverted. Okay, let's start with the C major chord and its inversions across the fingerboard. here's the C minor chord and its inversions played across the fingerboard. When you're ready, try your hand at the diminished triads. And now here's the augmented triads. Now, just to round off this session, I'd like to give you an example of one of the ways that I use triads. I'm going to use these basic triads and their inversions, the exact ones we've learnt today. I'm going to use them over a 12-bar blues. And you'll see the basic set of chords for the 12-bar blues on the screen. What I'm going to do is play different types of triads against these basic chords in the same fashion that we've been doing in the whole series. That's been the theme, where we're pitting sort of one chord against another to create a different type of sound or feeling. Before I play the example, I'll just explain my thought process with regard to these triads. I know that I can play obviously a C triad over a C chord, but I also know that I could play, for example, an A minor triad over the C. And when I do this, the resultant sound will be that of a C sixth chord. For example, when the chord changes to F, I know I can play a C minor triad. And when I do this, it creates the effect of an F ninth chord. In the same way that when the chord changes to G seventh, I know that I can play D minor, and that will produce the sound of a G ninth chord. With triads, I find that I can create the sense of movement by not so much going to another triad all the time, but by moving the triad a semitone lower and then moving it back to its original pitch. Anyway, I think the best idea is to let you have a listen to the type of thing I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. I hope you found something of interest in this session, And don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, to pop them in the comments section below this video. And as always, I look forward to catching up with you again next time. Bye for now.